Hey, beautiful souls. Don't mind this rawness. I am studying away and enjoying the bliss of not being ready for a day. However, I came across a quote and it's got me kind of thinking, and I wanted to share. Sometimes you have to make a decision that will hurt your heart but heal your soul. Let me read that again. Sometimes you have to make a decision that will hurt your heart but heal your soul. I know I resonate with this quote, and there's a lot of us actually that do. It is maybe one of the hardest lessons I think we as a collective have to learn in this experience. And the lesson I'm talking about is called self-love. It's to recognize, to know that we are worthy enough of what we call love. And to know that we are enough to be loved. And that we are enough to that which we have sacrificed of ourselves in the name of love. And if that doesn't sound like enough of a big enough riddle, it's also something that we've been able to exploit. We've been able to bend in the discernment of what's considered unconditional love. And that's just exactly what it calls upon, is discernment. Really want to think about this for a second, guys. Can we love unconditionally like that of our Creator? Yes. Definitely yes. What I think we get confused about is this unconditional love like the Creator who loves us unconditionally. One thing is certain. When we are in a bad spot, we've heard the quote, where were you when I needed you? Looking at the sand with the two lines of people walking, the footprints, right? And then it just goes into one, and that's where it's like, well, that's where the Creator, Jesus, God, whatever you want to associate it with, says, well, that's the time I carried you. Now, let's take that same analogy into us. I think we confuse that with that it becomes our responsibility to love somebody unconditionally and stick by their side, even at the sake of what is slowly killing our soul. And we feel like that is unconditional love. I believe we've almost have construed that as unconditional love. What part we haven't really spoke about in emphasis to all of this? Spirit never leaves. No. In fact, probably is carrying us through that turmoil and grief. But do you know why it gets so quiet? Do you know why it feels like you're alone? It's because Spirit knows your worth. They're not going to come coddle you when you know better, but easily fall into old programming. And this is a lesson for many of us that can have a situation of cognitive dissonance. When we know better, but it's easier to fall into an alignment of old programming. Is that right? That's right. That being said, so Spirit will carry you, but it sounds so quiet because they're not coddling and going to reside with you in that moment, in that area, because to do so is to enable you and to stop your growth, to comfort you. And yes, they will comfort, and this is the very fine line. There is comfort, but they're not going to enable it, and therefore you feel alone. So let's correlate all that as humans with the people that we love unconditionally and we want to love Christ-like. However, we will sacrifice our own self-worth, our own spirit. And we will all, I know not all of us, many of us, and this is the hard lesson, there's other quotes too, like the hardest lesson is to know whether it's time to walk away or try again. You have to, I think it's really a great time for us to begin to take account of our self-worth. If something is causing us a slow, painful death by continually showing up for somebody that knows better, but is making repetitively wrong mistakes or choices because it's easier, are we loving unconditionally Christ-like? Or divine-like? I'm just using Christ-like because that's just a terminology. Or are we enabling and keeping up their behavior? Sometimes you have to make a decision that will hurt your heart because you love so much, or will heal your soul. And in the name of love, you actually, when you make decisions from the purity of your heart, from the love that you want to advocate and you give to yourself, you actually help expand the people that you love around you, to hold them. It forces them to take accountability of their own actions and decisions as well. And in the process, it's holding you accountable as well and raising your frequency and recognizing your self-worth. I hope all of that was explained in the most simplest form I could. So much love. Recognize we are all doing the best we can from where we are. But if we know better, that's when it's time to rise. That's where we can feel the discernment with Spirit, when they give us comfort and when we feel alone. Always giving unconditional love. So much love, guys.